This is part three of the same discussion talking about the critique of Acharya Prashant towards Marxism and his claim that Marxism has failed. Now let's talk about some more bitter realities or some more facts that Marx has talked about and see to what extent they are relevant. For instance, he has talked about surplus value, and we can see that in capitalism it is the surplus value that helps a capitalist thrive financially and economically. He is in a position to exploit workers, paying them wages that are hardly that hardly make him meet both ends. For instance, if a worker works for, let's say, 8 hours and he is paid, let's say, 1000 Indian rupees, he does that work within an hour. Like he works for 1000 rupees for 1 hour, and the rest of the 7 hours he devotes to the capitalist, and this is how he accumulates more money. For instance, if I'm a capitalist investing, let's say, 50 million Indian rupees, and 5000 workers working day and night turn it into 5 billion rupees. So the whopping the profit that I have got, it is because of the toiling and the labor of the workers. If I'm a capitalist investing, let's say, 1 billion rupees in machines, and if I start playing some musical instrument in front of machines, they are not going to produce any wealth. In the language of economics, they would be called dead capital, because they would cause depreciation of machine and all that. So the laborer not only adds more value to these machine, but he also retains the value of the machine by not letting it get depreciated. So imagine that 7 hours a day from 5000 workers, and it is because of this surplus value that a capitalist is in a position to multiply his wealth, to multiply his companies. So if he has one factory, he might ends up having three, four, or five factories. If he has one mansion, he might ends up having three and four mansion. In the same way, more vehicle, and maybe possibly jet and helicopter and all that, while the laborer is in a same position. Now some people might say that in modern time, because of technology, because of skilled labor, the capitalist cannot resort to surplus value. He cannot exploit laborers, especially it cannot apply to white collar workers. But in even banking sector, you could see that many workers, especially if they are working for 8 hours, sometimes they are asked to stay beyond 8 hours and they are paid nothing for that. Even those white collar workers, let's say if they are given 100,000 or 200,000 Indian rupee per month, they might do that work or that amount of work within 30 days, and rest of the within 30 hours of the month, and rest of the hours are months they work for the capitalists who thrive on their exploitation. Some people say that now in modern time capitalists are not exploiting, they are not taking advantage of surplus value, but then one needs to explain as to why many capitalists rushed towards China during the decade of 1980s. The factor was cheap labor. Why are they going to countries like India, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and other countries? Again, cheap labor. There is no workers' security. They might not have any social security. They might not have any health insurance. They might not have permanent jobs. Especially in Bangladesh, you can see that some of the most disastrous accidents, industrial accidents, happened during the last 20 or 25 years. So in those countries, workers do not have a right to form union. There may be union, but they are pocket unions. The working conditions are terrible, and the capitalists make a lot of money. For instance, in Indonesia, according to a late Australian journalist John Pilger, if a worker is paid, let's say in Indonesia, 50 pence for preparing a pair of shoes, the same pair of shoes could be sold in the British or American market for $250. So you could see the amount of the difference of amount, and imagine the type of exploitation that might be carried out. So that was the concept of surplus value. Then we talk about crisis and underconsumption. Marx talked about, because Marx believed that under capitalism, the productive capacity uh, witnesses a phenomenal surge, while market does not expand. While market does not expand, it does not expand as fast as it should. For instance, if you are, let's say, manufacturing 50,000 mobiles today, tomorrow there could be, and you have 50,000 consumers. Tomorrow, you could have an advancement in technology helping you to produce 50 million mobiles, but at the same time, the population cannot grow that fast. So there is a gap. In the same way, he explains how competition leads to crisis. For instance, let's say in a certain area of Mumbai, 50,000 shirts can only be sold because the population of that certain area is 50,000. Now, one company, let's say owned by Tata or some other groups, comes up with 50,000 shares. Another company owns by Barlas coming up with 50,000 shares. Still the other owns by Ambani's coming up with 50,000 shares, or maybe Hinduja brother or Lakshmi Mittal coming up with the 50,000 shares. So if there are 10 companies, it would be something like 10 companies, almost 500,000 shares. And how many shares could possibly be sold? Only 50,000. So this is what triggers crisis. The capitalists try to overcome this problem by carrying out mergers. But even if they have carried out merger, they would still be producing maybe 2,500, or maybe a quarter of million shares, while the consumer are still 50,000. Another problem, under consumption. For instance, the workers are not only workers, they are also consumer. So on the one hand, you have 50,000 consumer, and you have 500,000 of shares. On the other hand, when you carry out modernization of industry, you lay off workers as well. So even from existing market of 50,000 consumers, you reduce it maybe to 25,000. So this is the dilemma. That's why since 1800, on average, we have witnessed, on average, every 10 years, we have witnessed some form of financial crisis or economic crisis there. Then the concept of alienation, it is also important. It's still relevant. Like for instance, Marx says that under capitalism, workers may build beautiful mansions, but he ends up living in slums. He may manufacture excellent shoes or pair of sandals, but his own kids may be roaming about the streets of Mumbai or Delhi under the sizzling temperature of maybe 40 or 38 or 45. He may manufacture excellent cars, but he cannot afford to buy even a cycle. And so imagine the sense of alienation. Alienation was not a new concept. It was offered by Feuerbach as well, who believed that man creates some wonderful thing and associate it to the God, saying that, oh, it was the blessing of God. It was God who had given me enough power to create it. So in a way, he is alienated from his own creation. Hegel also said that in capitalism there would be alienation, but the state would try to bridge that gap of alienation. Alienation means that you do not have control over the things that you have produced. So Hegel believes that workers would produce so many things, but they would not have any control over them because the capitalists would be owning them. But what would state do? State would try to carry out some form of redistribution of wealth, and this is how it would try to reduce the sense of alienation that workers would have. So Marx says that under capitalism, the workers do not have control over production, over the type of product that they are going to manufacture, over the condition or over the situation in which they would be finding themselves while producing these things, and over the distribution. So in a way, whatever they produce, they would be alienated from this. So even today, this concept is very alienated. You can see that workers are maybe manufacturing or making beautiful clothes, but they cannot afford it. They may manufacture cars, but they cannot. So this is the sense of alienation. In some way, the products of their hands become superior to their own existence. So these concepts are still there. Then Marx also talk about class differences, that with the passage of time they would be broadened, there would be monopolies, and now we can see that monopolies are ruling over the world, with maybe Apple, Amazon, and Elon Musk company, and so many other companies having their offices in India, in China, in Indonesia, in other parts of the world. There are also broadening class differences between the rich and poor, with the estimates of Oxfam that 12 individuals, richest individuals of the world, having wealth which is more than what 4 billion people of the world have. In the same way, 500 Americans may have as much wealth as maybe 40 million Americans, or more than 40 million Americans. So what Acharya Prashant did not mention is the bitter realities that Marx has talked about, and these realities could still be witnessed, they could still be seen, they are still relevant. His formula is still relevant, and this is not what something I'm saying in 2008, when a financial crisis hit parts of Europe and advanced capitalist world. Financial Times said that Marx's diagnosis was correct. Financial Times objected to Marx's prescription, but as far as diagnosis was concerned, that was correct. So all those factors that Marx has talked about, be that class differences, be that alienation, be that surplus value, be that importance of class, the character of state, if it is dominated by a particular class, in the same way exploitation, these all factors are relevant even today. So therefore, Acharya Prashant, I think, does not have a right to say that Marxism has failed. He has very superficial understanding of Marxism. In part 4, I will talk about socialist economy and its miracles. I would try to talk about the countries that made tremendous strides while adopting socialist economies, despite all hurdles and conspiracies to topple the socialist government in communist countries. So this was part 3. This is Abdul Sattar with the Rising Stars. I will come up with part 4 very soon.